Hey guys, so before I even begin, I just want to say that I kind of created like a template that might be a little confusing to show you guys what the reading plan is like because I don't show every day. I just kind of show like changes. So, like, say I finished one book of the Bible and then I moved on to the next. I kind of show it like that. So if that's confusing, I do have pictures of what I wrote in my notebook. So just go ahead and look at that. Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So in my previous video, I showed you guys my Bible reading plan for 2026. Um, it I'll put it in the description box below if you haven't seen it. But basically, I just told you all of the books that I'm going to be reading for each month with the goal of reading the entire Bible in a year. It's not chronological, it is based on like themes and seasons and stuff. So if you haven't seen that one, again, it'll be in the description box. But I did create my plan as far as like how many chapters I'm going to read and all of that. So I thought I would share that with you guys. Um, I will try to show like a picture for some of the ones that are kind of a lot to remember. But if you want to do the same reading plan as me, I recommend getting like a notebook or something and taking some notes so that you have an idea. Or you can just determine how many chapters you're going to do for each month yourself. Because mine is like, I just kind of started writing stuff. Like, it's not, I wasn't like, okay, I'm only gonna do like 4 chapters every day for the whole month. It's just not as like organized, I guess. So you could see for yourself if it's something that you want to do. But January is very easy. So you're gonna read 2 chapters of Genesis and 1 chapter of Matthew every day. And then that actually clears you up. With mine, for instance, I have, if you can see, I have 3 days where I can either like catch up because maybe I fell behind or you get a break. So you're left with the last 3 days of January having a catch up or a break. But again, it's 2 chapters of Genesis, 1 chapter of Matthew. So that's simple. So this is what I was talking about. I'm basically just showing you, okay, it's 2 chapters of Genesis, 1 chapter of Matthew, but I'm not showing you like every single day because especially for this one, you can kind of just clearly understand the pattern. The other months are a little bit more difficult, so I'll try to walk through that as well. I also wrote out a prayer for each month. So that's something that you may want to think about doing. February, I'm reading a bunch of different books. So in February, we're reading John, Ruth, Hosea, and Song of Songs. And you actually have like a whole week where you can catch up or take a break, which is really nice because a lot of these books are shorter. So you're going to start with John. You're going to read a chapter of John every day until you're done with the book of John. If you follow this plan, you will be finished reading John by February 21st. Okay? So I'm just going to kind of read it. So February 1st, I'm reading the first chapter of John and the first chapter of Ruth. February 2nd is going to be chapter 2 of John, chapter 2 of Ruth. So you get the point. You're going all the way down, right? Now on February 4th, you're still reading through John, and then you read the last chapter of Ruth. February 5th, you're still reading through John. Now you're reading 2 chapters of Hosea as well. So you're going to keep reading John and you're going to keep reading your 2 chapters of Hosea. I feel like this sounds so complicated, so I really hope it makes sense. I will do my best to put stuff on the screen. Um, Hosea, the book of Hosea, you will have that finished if you read 2 chapters every day by February 11th. By that time, you're still reading John, but now you're going to be reading on February 12th, you'll read John chapter 12 and then the first chapter of Song of Songs. You will finish Song of Songs by February 19th. So, come February 20th and February 21st, you will have, you'll read John chapter 20 and then John chapter 21. I just realized I can literally just take a picture of my notebook to kind of show you guys. So maybe I'll do that. Okay, so this is what I was explaining. Basically, what I'm showing here is that by February 12th, you're done reading Hosea, so you're moving on to Song of Songs. By February 20th, you have finished Song of Songs, so you're just finishing up John, and then the rest are your catch up or your break. I will put pictures from my notebook at the end of this video. So if you prefer to just skip to the end and write it down, like do whatever you need to do, hopefully one of those things will help you. Anyway, if you see right here, you have like 7 days where you can catch up or you could take a break. Okay. Moving on to March. In March, you are reading Mark, you're reading Acts, and Romans, and Ephesians. Okay, so you're reading 4 books of the Bible in 1 month. So again, it starts off with reading 1 chapter. So you will read 1 chapter of Mark, 1 chapter of Acts, and 1 chapter of Romans. You're going to do that until, let's see, so Mark and Romans, there's only 16 chapters in Mark. Okay, sure. So I kind of want to see that though. Hold on. I just thought Mark had more chapters, so I'm going to double check. No, Mark does have 16 chapters. Okay, so you'll be done with Mark and you'll be done with Romans, because Romans also has 16 chapters. You'll be done with that by March 16th. Okay, come March 17th, you're still reading through Acts, but now you're going to read Acts chapter 17 and then the first chapter of Ephesians. So basically, you're just going to finish out Acts and Ephesians up until, well, Ephesians will be done by March 22nd, and then after that, you're just reading Acts until March 28th, because there's 28 chapters in Acts. And then you can see right here, you have 3 days where there's a where you could catch up, or you could take a break. So I like the plan because it gives a lot of room to catch up if you didn't like finish the chapters on that day, which is, pretty normal. So again, you can kind of see here, you're reading 1 chapter of Mark, 1 chapter of Acts, 1 chapter of Romans. March 17th is when you would be done with Mark and Romans. So now you're reading Acts and Ephesians. By March 23rd, you're just reading the book of Acts. Or, I'm sorry, by March 28th, you're just reading the book of Acts. And then the 29th, 30th, and 31st are all catch up / break. Again, the pictures will be at the end of this video, so feel free to look at those too if that helps. Also, I actually started this plan already. So what I did was I started from December and I've been reading that. And December is the craziest month on here. That's the one where I will make sure that I put like a picture, because there's just a lot of books left in December, because again, I did it by themes and seasons and what kind of made sense to my head. So yeah, it might not be for everyone, but again, I feel like as long as you're reading your Bible, that's what matters. But I did start it and it's been really eye-opening. I've really been enjoying it. I've been reading Ezekiel, and learning about the blueprint for the temple that's going to be built during the millennial reign. It's just like super interesting. So I've been reading that and the Psalms too, but loving it, and I listen to it through my Bible app. I think that is what can really help you to finish reading the whole Bible in a year, is just like listening to it on your phone, you know? Anyway, in April, we'll be reading Job, First Corinthians, Hebrews, um, Colossians, and Galatians. So I'm going to be reading 2 chapters of Job every day, and then 1 chapter of First Corinthians, sorry, and then 1 chapter of Hebrews every day until that's finished up. And then same for Colossians, I'm reading a chapter a day, and then Galatians, I'm reading a chapter a day. And then I have 7 days again where you can catch up or take a break. So I feel like in hindsight, since I had a 7 day break at the end, I could have spaced this out more. So that's something you could think about for your plan. But yeah, basically here I'm just showing you're reading 2 chapters of Job, 1 chapter of First Corinthians, 1 chapter of Hebrews. First Corinthians and Hebrews will be finished by April 17th. So you'll still be reading Job by then, and you'll be reading Galatians. Job will be finished by April 23rd. So then you'll just be reading Galatians, and then you have that 7 day break. Okay. For May, we're going to be reading Isaiah, Judges, Esther. Isaiah, Judges, and Esther. So I will be reading 3 chapters of Isaiah every day, and then 1 chapter of Judges every day. And then see, sometimes it will switch. So like I started off reading 3 chapters of Isaiah, and then later on in the month, I end up reading 2 chapters. So that one I'll definitely put on the screen. And then after I'm done reading Isaiah and Judges, I'll be reading 1 chapter of Esther every day. Okay, so there's 2 changes in here. So again, in May, you're going to read 3 chapters of Isaiah, 1 chapter of Judges. But then on May 14th, well, actually, yeah, on May 14th, you're actually reading 4 chapters of Isaiah, not 3. And then by May 15th, it goes back to 3 chapters. And then you're just going to finish out Esther after May 15th, and that should be it. Okay, now we're into June. So in June, I'll be reading Numbers, 1 Samuel, let's see. I'll be reading Numbers, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, Deuteronomy, Joshua, 1 Kings, and 2 Kings. It sounds like crazy a little bit, but when you think about how much time we spend just watching videos, just scrolling, like we spend hours doing that, and it doesn't even feel like that much time has passed by. So I feel like even though it does sound like a lot, it's just a matter of like kind of cutting down on some of that time that would then like free us up to read the Bible. Again, I'm going to be listening to it, so I feel like it's just a little easier when you do that. I will try to put that on the screen too. Okay, this one is kind of a lot. So, June 1st, you're reading Numbers chapter 1 to 3, 1 Samuel chapter 1 to 3. So, you're going to be reading 3 chapters of Numbers, 3 chapters of First Samuel. By June 11th, you would have finished First Samuel, so now you're still reading Numbers, but you're also reading 4 chapters of Second Samuel. Then by June 13th, you finish Numbers, so now you're reading 4 chapters of Deuteronomy and then 4 chapters of Second Samuel still. By June 15th, you're still reading through Deuteronomy and Second Samuel, but now you're also reading 4 chapters of Joshua. And then by June 17th, you're still reading Deuteronomy and Joshua, but now you're reading First Kings. And you can see that you have finished Second Samuel, right? So now by June 21st, you're reading Deuteronomy and you're reading First Kings. You're done with Joshua. And then the next day, June 22nd, you're just reading through First Kings. You're reading 2 chapters of First Kings, whereas before you were reading 3. And then on the 23rd, you're moving on to Second Kings. So you're reading 4 chapters of Second Kings. June 24th, you're reading 3 chapters of Second Kings. So you would assume here that from June 24th onward, you're reading 3 chapters of Second Kings, not 4. I hope that made sense. And then June 30th, which is the last day, you're just finishing up those 2 chapters. Again, look at the pictures if this doesn't make sense. So, and then let's see, July, August, September. So I'm gonna cut it here. I'll do like a part one, part two. I'm gonna end with July. In July, I'm gonna be reading the book of Proverbs, as well as Jonah, Ezra, and Nehemiah. And I'm gonna read Ecclesiastes. And I think that's it. And all of these books are really short. So Proverbs is the easiest one because there are 31 chapters in Proverbs and there's 31 days in July. So you're going to read a chapter, a proverb every day. Not a proverb because that would be a short saying, but a chapter of Proverbs every day. For Jonah, I'm going to read 2 chapters a day. And Jonah only has 4 chapters. So I would finish reading Jonah by the second day of July. Then I'll read Ezra, 2 chapters of Ezra. I would finish reading Ezra by July 7th. Then I'll move on to Nehemiah, reading 2 chapters of Nehemiah. I'll finish Nehemiah by July 14th. And remember, you're still reading Proverbs this whole time. Now Nehemiah is done. Then I'm going to be reading, so July 14th, I'll read Proverbs chapter 14, Nehemiah 13, which is the last chapter, right? And then I'm going to read the first chapter of Ecclesiastes. So come July 15th, I'll read Proverbs 15 and then Ecclesiastes chapter 2. And I'll just finish reading Proverbs and Ecclesiastes until they're done. Ecclesiastes you would finish on July 25th. So with this one, there's no breaks, but again, these are all like shorter books and it doesn't take that long to read like a chapter of Proverbs a day. Um, yeah, so I'll end it right here and then I'll do a part two. And like I said, I'll try to show what that plan looks like on the screen. Okay, so here's July. I think by now you guys kind of get the point of how it works. So if you need to pause it to write it down or screenshot, whatever, it'll be here for you. And like I said, the pictures will be at the end of this video. So feel free to pause for that too if that is more helpful for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really pray that you are able to commit to reading your Bible, even if it's not reading the whole Bible in a year. It doesn't have to be. If you want to do a topical study or there's a book of the Bible that you really want to like dig deeper into, I pray that the Lord helps you with that. I pray that He helps me with it. And I know that we will be really blessed if we read our Bibles every day. just because that is the way that God primarily speaks to us. So, by reading our Bible every day, it helps us to be more sensitive to His voice and His leading in our lives. It helps us to resist temptation as well because we know what's right and what's wrong as we continue to read our word and see what God's character is like. We see the things that please Him. I think that it increases our faith and just like it does a lot for us. So, whether you're going to study a book of the Bible, read through the whole Bible, or try this reading plan, I just really pray that it will encourage you, bless you, and also that you encourage those around you to read the Word of God as well. So I'll talk to you guys in my next video. I will do a part 2, and I'll see you then.